What if I told you that China was purposely bankrupting countries and it may force the US to intervene because they have a debt trap going on, which is forcing other countries to default on their loans? And I want to dig into this article with you so you understand a little bit better what's going on. But China has been giving large-scale infrastructure project loans to countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh to help them do things like build bridges, ports, airports, things along those lines. However, those countries are now having a hard time repaying China. And this phenomenon has led to accusations of what's called the death trap diplomacy. According to this notion, China lends money to vulnerable countries knowing they may struggle to repay, which ultimately gives Beijing control over strategic assets. So basically, China's been giving out loans to neighboring countries in hopes of creating diplomacy and also having more control over those countries. The article goes on to say that in Sri Lanka's case, the country already defaulted on its external debt and effectively went bankrupt in 2022. It did, however, strike a deal with China to restructure its $4.2 billion worth of its debt. Notably, more than half of Sri Lanka's bilateral debt is owed to China. So basically, they loaned out so much money to Sri Lanka didn't have the ability to pay it back, and they defaulted on it and went bankrupt. Now, here's an even crazier part. China remains the largest creditor to the Maldives, holding $1.37 billion of the island nation's debt. The Maldives' public debt in 2023 reached 122.9% of its gross domestic product. Keep in mind that the United States' debt to GDP ratio is about 120%, and we're one of the biggest economies in the world. So to think that the Maldives is even close to that number is crazy to think about. And what this has essentially done is this has lowered the Maldives' Fitch rating to a CCC+, meaning that they're at risk of having their currency depegged from the US dollar. And the International Monetary Policy came out and issued warnings saying that they need huge policy adjustments in order to weather the storm. Now, how exactly does China putting the Maldives into bankruptcy affect the United States? And we can see that if China's not willing to commit to a debt restructuring plan with the Maldives, other countries may have to come to the aid of the Maldives, including the United States. Now, China has also sworn up and down that they're not doing this on purpose. This is something that they just wanted to get their foot in the door of some of these countries to help them grow their infrastructure. But as you start to see how much they're actually lending out without really doing a risk evaluation, you start to kind of draw your own conclusion.